Right now, somewhere in your garden, there's a lavender that looks fine. Green on top, maybe still throwing a few flowers. And it is already on a countdown you can't see. Because most lavender in this country is dead by year 5 or 6. It goes woody at the base, splits open in the middle, and one wet March, it simply doesn't wake up. And the gardener standing over it says the same thing every single time. I must have killed it. I did something wrong. You probably didn't. You planted it in the wrong dirt, and nobody told you, because the place that sold it to you had no reason to. There's a powder that fixes this. It costs about $2. It's been sitting in the back of every garden center in the country for 50 years, over next to the lawn products, and almost nobody who buys a lavender ever walks past it. I'm going to tell you exactly what it is, exactly how much to put down, and exactly when. And at the end, the honest part, nobody prints. The two situations where this powder will do absolutely nothing for you. You need to hear those before you spend a cent. It's garden lime, ground limestone, calcium carbonate. $2 a bag at the hardware store, and one bag will outlive several of your plants. Now, before you write that off as too simple, you need to understand what a lavender actually is. Because once you see it, this stops being a trick and starts being obvious. Before I keep going, I put together a guide called the Mediterranean Garden Playbook. Plain English covering the exact soil pH every one of these plants actually wants, the drainage fixes that work in real clay, the pruning window for each variety, and a chapter on what doesn't work. Link is in the description. If it saves one plant, it paid for itself. Now let me get back to it. Lavender is not from a garden. It's from the limestone hillsides of the Mediterranean. Dry, stony, poor ground, sitting on top of pale rock that is essentially compressed calcium carbonate. That's not a fun fact. That is the entire operating manual for the plant. Everything about lavender, the silver leaves, the oils, the refusal to be fed, is a plant built for chalk. And then we take it home and put it in a nice rich border, and we're surprised when it sulks. Here's the number that matters. Lavender wants a soil pH between about 6.7 and 7.5. The sweet spot most growers aim for is 6.7 to 7.3, neutral to slightly alkaline. Now go and look at what's actually in most gardens. Fully decomposed organic matter, compost, leaf mold, everything we've been told to add for the last 30 years sits between pH 6 and 7, slightly acidic. If you garden anywhere with high rainfall, or under conifers, or on ground that's had years of bark mulch on it, you're lower still. So the average well-tended garden bed is sitting slightly below where lavender can properly work. And here's what that does, because it isn't dramatic, and that's exactly the problem. Below about pH 6.5, the plant can't efficiently take up what it needs. It doesn't die. It just runs at half power. You get thinner growth, fewer flower spikes, weaker oils, and a plant that goes into every winter with less in the tank than it should have. Then one wet winter arrives, and a plant running at 70% doesn't come out the other side. That's the whole story. The lavender didn't die of cold. It died of 5 years of quietly running lean, and the cold just presented the bill. Now, before you buy anything, run this test. It takes 4 minutes, and it costs nothing. Go and dig up a small trowel of soil from right beside your lavender, 4 or 5 inches down. Put it in a jar or on a plate. Pour a splash of ordinary white vinegar on it. Watch it. If it fizzes, bubbles up, hisses at you, there is already free lime in your soil. It's alkaline. Stop right there. Do not add more. You'd be pushing past pH 8, and above 8, the plant starts locking out iron and manganese, and you will have created a brand new problem to replace the one you didn't have. If it does nothing, flat, silent, no reaction, your soil has no free carbonate in it. That's the majority of gardens, and that's a plant sitting slightly too low all the time. That reaction is the same chemistry the lime performs in your soil. If the vinegar can't find carbonate, neither can your lavender. Right. If your test came back flat, here's exactly what to do. And I want to give you real amounts, because a handful is how people get this wrong. How much? Michigan State's Extension Service gives home gardeners a starting rate of 1/8 of a cup of garden lime per square foot of soil around the plant. For an established lavender with a spread of about 3 feet, that's roughly 1 cup, worked over the whole root area, not dumped at the stem. If you're amending a bigger bed before planting, the working figure is around 5 pounds per 100 square feet to lift slightly acidic soil by a single pH point. Which lime? Calcitic, ordinary garden lime, calcium carbonate. Dolomitic also works and brings magnesium with it. Avoid hydrated or quick lime. It's caustic, it acts fast and hard, and it's for agriculture, not for a shrub you like. When? Autumn. This is the part people get impatient about. Lime is not a feed, and nothing happens overnight. It takes several months to actually shift soil pH. Put it down in autumn, and it's working by the time the plant needs it in spring. Put it down in May, expecting a result in June, and you'll conclude it doesn't work. How? Scatter it evenly across the root zone. Scratch it lightly into the top inch with a hand fork. Water it in once. Then leave it alone. Retest in a year, not in a month. That's the whole job. 1 cup, once, in autumn. Now the part I promised you. And I'd rather disappoint you now than take your $2 for nothing. The first failure, and it's the big one. Lime does not fix drainage. Root rot kills more lavender than every pest, disease, and hard winter put together. And it is not a cold problem. It's a water problem. Research out of the University of Vermont's Extension found lavender surviving temperatures well below 0 Fahrenheit, where drainage was excellent, and the same variety dying in a mild winter when it was sitting in waterlogged clay. Read that again, because it reverses what most people believe. Your lavender is not being killed by your winters. It's being killed by wet feet during your winters. If your plant is sitting in heavy clay, or in a low spot, or under a downpipe, no amount of lime is going to save it. You're correcting the chemistry of a bathtub. Fix the water first. Plant on a mound or a raised bed, 8 to 12 inches above the surrounding ground, and mulch with gravel or grit, never bark, which holds moisture against the crown, which is exactly where the plant can't tolerate it. And do not mix builder's sand into clay to fix it. Sand plus clay makes something closer to concrete, and it drains worse than either one did on its own. The second failure: forever is not a real thing, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. English lavender and the big lavandins, pruned properly and drained properly, will give you 10 to 15 years. Sometimes 20. Left woody and undrained, they're finished by about year 6. French and Spanish lavender are shorter-lived plants regardless. 3 to 5 years is normal for them, and that's not your fault either. So, what the lime actually buys you is the difference between 6 years and 20. That's 14 extra summers of that scent on a hot afternoon. It is not immortality. It's the best trade in your garden, and it costs $2. While you've got the bag in your hand, 3 things not to do. Don't feed it. Lavender is a poor soil plant. Nitrogen gives you soft, floppy, leafy growth at the direct expense of flowers. After the first year in the ground, stop fertilizing altogether. Don't water it. Established lavender in the ground wants water every 2 or 3 weeks in high summer at most, and nothing at all in winter. Commercial growers irrigate established plants once or twice a year. And don't mulch against the crown. Gravel or grit kept clear of the stems. Nothing that holds damp. Everything I've told you comes back to one idea, and it isn't really about lime. Lavender is not a plant you improve. It's a plant you stop interfering with. Every instinct that makes you a good gardener with everything else, feed it, water it, mulch it, enrich the soil, is the instinct that shortens this plant's life. The $2 powder isn't a boost. It's you putting a piece of Mediterranean limestone back under a Mediterranean plant, and then getting out of its way. Lean soil, sharp drainage, a little chalk underneath. That's the whole secret. And the reason nobody sells it to you is that there's no money in a bag of ground rock, and the advice to leave your plant alone.